Have you ever just stopped and wondered why your super powerful smartphone can still be so bad at understanding what you're saying? Well, today on The Explainer, we're going to figure that out. I mean, think about it. The device you carry around in your pocket has access to pretty much all of human knowledge. It is an absolutely incredible piece of technology.
With just a couple of taps, you can talk to anyone on the planet. It's an unbelievably powerful tool for communication and for finding information about, well, anything.
And yet, with all that power, it can fail spectacularly at something that seems like it should be simple. And this isn't just some random glitch. It actually points to one of the biggest, most fundamental challenges in all of artificial intelligence.
Okay, let's dive into this first section, the smart, dumb assistant. We're going to look at a real-world example of just how brilliant and how bafflingly dumb our devices can be.
So picture this. You're trying to have a simple, normal conversation with your voice assistant. You just want to buy movie tickets, say, for Black Panther. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
But instead of getting a price or a link to buy tickets, the whole conversation just goes completely off the rails. It's like Siri has no idea what you're even talking about.
And this is where it gets really weird. When the assistant gets confused, its fallback plan is just to search the web for the exact words it heard. This leads to some bizarrely unrelated and, honestly, kind of unsettling results. It shows a complete and total lack of actual comprehension.
So what happened there? This wasn't just a simple bug. This one little failure reveals a huge, deep challenge at the very heart of AI, the problem of natural language understanding, or NLU. All right, Section 2, what does understand mean? To solve this mystery, we have to back up and ask a question that people have been debating for decades. What do we even mean when we say a machine understands something?
You know, in the world of NLU, you've really got two different goals. The first is the technological goal. That one's simple. Just build tools that work, that get the job done. But then there's the cognitive goal, which is way more ambitious, to actually create a system that processes language the same way a human brain does.
For a long, long time, the benchmark for this was the famous Turing test. The idea is pretty simple. It's all about behavior. If a machine's responses are so good that a person can't tell they're talking to a computer, then for all practical purposes, it understands.
But the philosopher John Searle threw a wrench in that with his famous Chinese room argument. He said a system could just be following a very complicated set of rules, like looking up symbols in a giant book, to perfectly mimic understanding without having any real comprehension at all. The key point is, perfect behavior might just be a really clever trick.
So how did we get here? Let's talk about the journey from blocks to the web. This whole debate isn't new. The quest for machine understanding has a really long and fascinating history.
If you look back, you see these big shifts in approach. In the early days, you had these systems that were incredibly deep, but also incredibly fragile. Then the whole field moved to machine learning, which was much broader, but kind of fuzzy. And now, of course, we're in the era of deep learning, which has completely changed the game again.
So let's look at an early system from the 80s called Chat-80. It could answer unbelievably complex questions like this one. I mean, just listen to it. That's a serious question. And it worked because it had a really deep, precise understanding of its very specific little world, which was geography.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. For all that deep understanding, it was extremely brittle. If you changed just one single word, like swapping bordering for touching, the entire system would just break down and say, I don't understand.
And this perfectly illustrates the trade-off we've made. We've moved away from those deep but brittle systems of the past to the modern assistants we have today. Systems like Siri are incredibly broad. They can talk about almost anything, but their grasp of meaning is much, much fuzzier. They're a mile wide and an inch deep.
So that brings us to our next section, decoding our world. Because despite all these challenges, modern NLU is being used to build some seriously powerful tools that are changing how we all live.
One of the key applications here is called semantic parsing. It sounds really technical, but it's just the process of translating your spoken command into an action your device can understand. It has to identify your intent, like I want to send a message, and then pull out the key info, the entities, to actually make it happen.
Another huge area is sentiment analysis. This is where systems analyze just oceans of text from social media or product reviews to figure out how people feel about something. And as you can imagine, this has enormous commercial applications, especially in the high-stakes world of automated stock trading.
And this can have massive, real-world consequences. In 2013, a single fake tweet from a hacked Associated Press account claimed there were explosions at the White House.
while automated trading bots reacted instantly, causing the S&P 500 to temporarily lose a staggering $136 billion in value. And that brings us full circle to our final section, the ghost in the machine. Let's get back to our original mystery. Why did Siri fail so badly at buying those movie tickets?
The answer really comes down to three missing pieces. First, domain knowledge. Siri didn't know that first show means the earliest show time. Second, discourse knowledge. It couldn't track the flow of conversation, so it had no idea what it or there referred to. And finally, world knowledge. It just lacked the basic common sense to know that people buy tickets for adults and children, not the actual people themselves.
So it's clear that natural language understanding is far from a solved problem. We've kind of traded these deep, narrow systems for broad, fuzzy ones. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As we build our future with these incredibly powerful systems, how do we teach a machine not just to hear our words, but to truly understand what we mean?